And Mitch.
Okay, cool. We're recording, and then just the usual spiel. Try to keep yourself muted if you're not talking. If you're making feedback, I'll mute you, but I can't unmute you. So, yeah, keep an eye on that kind of stuff. Yeah, Mitch, take it away. Tell us about how you're cutting stuff and tools and things.
Well, so I was going to keep cutting stuff and other things that we do for spars down the road. I don't know if you guys saw, but I posted both in Kite Builder forum and on Facebook and on Fortuna Found a list of tools and a list of kit organized by sail making and design and spar cutting and flying. But we could do it in any order you want. I don't know if you've seen that list, but it's a list of stuff that I just threw out into the universe. What all are you guys using? And it was amazing. In about 15 minutes, I had pages and pages of stuff that we as kiters are using. In regard to cutting,
Mitch, I'd show you this guy. This guy's really cool. It's a Proxon, little bitty table saw. It's adorable. But I've been using this a lot for cutting carbon. It's just this little table saw. It's so cool. But
and
yeah,
do they have like an abrasive blade for it?
I'm not sure right now. It's just using a fine tooth metal circular blade, but there might be. It's a fairly standard size, I think. So maybe.
Yeah, I've got one of those little Proxon saws too, and I love it. And I do have a little grinding wheel attachment on there.
So Proxon saw. That's a good tip. Pin to me for a second, and I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to pin myself so I can see whether I'm in focus. This is the little Harbor Freight chop saw that we were talking about, and this is the abrasive wheel. Can you see that? Is that in focus enough?
Yeah, you're good. You're good, Mitch. Well, yeah.
But mine is on the Fritz, and so I had to find some alternative, and I think this is a better alternative.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love the whole world of these little tiny power tools. It's just so cool.
This is a regular Dremel tool, non-Dremel tool, untangle. This is a standard Dremel tool, right? Not the big one. It's like not a Rotodent or whatever the big ones are called. But you can get a flexible end on it. And I put can you see that? I put a diamond wheel on the end of my Dremel tool. And then I took a little piece of wood and I put a groove down the middle of it and a little cut on the side of it so I can put my carbon fiber tube down this groove, and this fits into it like a little chop saw. Now I may in fact abandon my little Harbor Freight chop saw because I'm not sure how to fix it. And I might buy one of those little table saws, but in the meanwhile, this little trick of, can you see that working? It seems to be working really well, and the diamond blade is so thin, it's just razor thin.
So Mitch, what I would suggest is cannibalize your little chop saw and have Greg print you a bracket that mounts into on the chop saw, and you're done.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Well, no, I mean it's pretty straightforward there.
Hey Mitch, this is Chris.
Sure.
I had a Harbor Freight saw that went on the Fritz too, and I took it all apart and found it was just a set screw on one of the gears.
I see. So it might be that just taking a look inside, I shouldn't be supposed to abandon it.
Hard to get apart, but easy to fix.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, if people have, I would suggest if people have a suggestion for a tool or something, and you know where it's at on Amazon, cut and paste the link in the text. I did it for the Weller 25-watt soldering iron. It's $14.34 prime, and also when you're just a a little blip for the American Kite Flyers Association is that if you do the Amazon Smile and you look up American Kite Flyers Association, a percentage of what you buy goes to the AKA. So if you can do that. So I've put a couple links in already.
You know, I wanted to say something else about finishing the ends of the tubes. So, and how else are we cutting tubes? I mean, files and hacksaw blades and little. I've never had very much luck with those very, very fine bladed saws.
Scott Hampton, is Scott Hampton on?
Yeah.
Tell him what you do. People will cringe.
Well, it's not for tubes, it's for solid. It's a cable cutter.
Oh yeah.
So it cuts a cable cutter. It cuts up to 4 mil clean. So 4 millimeter, you can cut cleanly off and just sand it, and it's done. And you don't have the dust. The problem with carbon is you got dust when you're using chop saws. You got crap flying all over the place. With the cable cutters, you don't have any dust.
This is a cable cutter. You guys, can you see this? I hope.
Well, that's a wire stripper.
Okay, hang on a minute. This was a wire stripper, and wire strippers usually have a limiting bolt. Can you see that well enough? I guess just against my face. Or maybe I'll unblur myself. Hang on a minute, and it'll change background to nothing. Please don't pay attention to what a wreck the rest of the room is.
That's good. It works.
And this is a wire stripper that I took away the little limiting screw. Let me get back in front of my camera.
You just slid it down.
And
I'll shut up.
It closes perfectly. I thought I brought a little thing to demonstrate how well it cuts, but it cuts really well. I mean, this is great. And this, I think, is what you were talking about. Is that right? Who's talking about using this? Gary, was that you?
That was Scott Hampton.
Scott Hampton.
No, I don't use I don't use that. Mine's a round cable cutter for brake cables on bicycles.
Oh yeah, sure. But hold it out. Hold it right in front of your camera so you can see it.
Hold a bit. I gotta unpin you.
All right, let me just do.
That's it.
Mitch,
Yes, sir.
I wanted to mention something. I may have to bug out just a little bit early. And Chris Hansen was doing a beautiful job last night with his tail. And I remembered a tool that I use that is an unusual one, but is readily available. And it's called a paper tearing tool. And I'm not sure if you guys can see this. I'll try to, can you see this in front of me?
Yes.
Okay, it's an iron bar. It's at least over 1/8 of an inch thick. It's quite heavy. It comes down to an edge on one side with a kerf on it that actually reaches down and grabs what you want to hold in place. So it really does a much better job than any metal ruler because it's heavy. It's almost a fabric weight. It's got the kerf that holds the thing in place and does not allow the substrate or the fabric to move. And since it's stainless steel, you can use a hot cutting and run it along there, and it will not absorb any heat. So it has three big advantages. You can get them at basically art stores. Use them for people who want to cut their canvases to a specific size. I put actually an address in there, a paper tear tool, into the chat. What's that?
Is it graduated? Does it
Uh,
have measurements on?
you can get them in several sizes.
I mean, does it have
It does
measurements
not
on?
have any no, it has no measurement on it at all. That's not what they're built for. But they are magnificent, and you can get them in small sizes and some very large sizes. This one is from Pacific Arc, but that's not the ad. The place I had put on was Taka Chores. TakaChPress.com. And it's as heavy as I mean, you could use this as a sword blade. I have it in a couple different sizes.
And you use it as a weight as well. It looks like it'd be a great weight.
Oh, it's a great weight. You laid it, for instance, when he was cutting the fabric for the tail, and he was taping down one end of the ruler, I was going, oh, that's magnificent. Wait a second, I've got something that does that even a little better.
Excellent.
If you could, Dave, maybe you could post information about it in the chat line.
Oh, I did. Look for paper tear tool.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
They're not cheap. They're meant for professionals, but we're pretty good at buying professional tools.
If it's a sword, I'm going to need Lindsay's chainmail.
I want to get back to cutting rods for a second, since we were talking about that. She was talking about, Lindsay, you were talking about having a grinding wheel to polish the ends of it. Here's something that I find that a lot of people have been doing, and I hadn't been doing it until yesterday afternoon. This is a pencil sharpener, and this is sort of a fancy pencil sharpener out of my wife's artistic kit, but you can get just one of those little flat square pencil sharpeners that you twist. And what I find is that you can, after you cut your tube, you just twist the end of your carbon fiber tube in there. And I don't know if you can see it well enough, but you can see the light part of it that's been ground. There it is. Lindsay's got one right in his hand. And that does a great job of, I mean, I suppose you could take some 600 and polish it more, but this works just fine if you're going to, slip it into an end cap.
This one, this is a big one. This will take up to like 1/2 inch. It's a large pencil sharpener. Dick Toonen brought that to Fort Worden from Holland a few years ago. And it works great.
Yeah, that really does. The other thing that I do with the ends of my tubes, and I don't know, you guys can tell me about how you think about this, but what you see on the end of this tube is shrink wrap. Now, I ran out of end caps one time, and this was an act of desperation, but I don't know if this is a demonstration you can see, but what I've done with the shrink wrap is, can you see now that that is an end cap? It actually shrinks around the sharp edges of the tube. And when I don't like making pockets, but when I make pockets, I can make them tighter and have less distortion of the sail by using shrink wrap instead of big, fat, chunky vinyl end caps. This, I never had one break through. It really does pad it up, and it's much thinner. So I wonder, is anybody else doing that? What else
Yes.
do you do for end caps?
And get yourself, you can go to Harbor Freight and you can get hot melt glue lined shrink wrap tubing that's used for marine, and it won't come off, it won't slide off, and it's typically a little thicker. And then remember that you can get different ratios of shrinking on shrink tubing, heat shrink tubing. There's like 3-to-1, 2-to-1, so it'll reduce down that much smaller. But the glue lined, what I use it for are the for holding ferrules on, like on I did on our Tommy Tomo kite. Anyway, put the ferrule on, and then put the heat shrink tubing on that has the hot melt glue inside. You heat it up, and you don't have to super glue your ferrules on anymore if you want.
Yeah, well, and that way you can be sure that you're not going to leave one behind in a tight pocket. And Barb Meyer just said that she has a friend who just uses electrical tape, uses a couple of wraps of electrical tape.
Yeah, electrical tape, unfortunately, will goo up and come off in the sun.
Let me see what else. You got to, somebody had, oh, I want to show you this. Let me, I'm going to present now. I have a bunch of photographs of things that people, ideas that people sent me. So I'm not trying to, you know, I just as soon if I never had to talk, but Grant Lovett, who is like my hero in so many ways, Grant Lovett sent me this photograph. This is, the flip side of this is in inches. And this was originally meant to be a wire gauge, but as you can see, it goes all from 1/4 of an inch all the way down to like microscopic. And he uses this to size his tubes. So when he's matching tubes or deciding with the tubes and rods, deciding to match ferrules and tubes, he has this, what looks like a very inexpensive and readily available engineering tool you might be able to get at Harbor Freight. But I thought that was a great little addition to the tubes and rods department. Let me stop sharing. So do you guys use micrometers or how do you do it?
Micrometers for me.
Yeah, micrometers here as well. But then I usually, like for the end cap bit, I print them. So I'm always using micrometers. Yeah, like I've even made just little bitty ones, like for this indoor kite. If I can probably grab it out of the tail here. I don't know, it's gonna be all fucked up if I do that. But it's just a very tiny end cap made in a kind of softer TPU. And it works. I kind of like the shrink wrap though. That might be a little bit cleaner even. Yeah. But definitely micrometers because I need specific dimensions when I do the designing. But
by the way, these are not micrometers that I'm holding in my hand.
It's calipers.
These are vernier calipers. So micrometer is a totally different tool, same function, similar function. These aren't as accurate as a micrometer.
I've been using calipers when I go to Fort Worden. They're useful all over the place where you can gauge, like if you want to figure out what the stitch length and width is. It's very easy just to whip out your calipers, measure the stuff, set up your machine, and carry on.
Yeah. Well, plus the fact that they can measure not just the exterior with the big jaws, but they can measure the interior with the back jaws, and they can also measure depth with the little bit of the bottom. So they're like,
and they're also a calculator. Have you ever used it as a calculator?
Yeah, set it and then change the dimension type or the unit.
Well, yeah, you set it, you zero it, and then you go to the next step that you want to put it in, and you can tell what's the difference.
Yeah, you measure it. That's right. I sometimes make believe I'm doing something in some inches, and then I change it to. This is another. I don't remember who sent me this. Another way of sizing your rods. I have a giant stack of half-used rods. Excuse me, and tubes. And so finding the sizes of them, this is another thing that somebody sent me a picture. So thank you very much, whoever that was. Have you guys seen this? You may have to pin me in order to see this.
Yeah, it's an outside caliper with a gauge on it.
Another little engineering tool that is great if you need to find now this is only for external sizes. So I guess the calipers, I think, probably are more useful, but I do use this, in fact.
Yeah.
So another version of that. Excuse my cough. How do I stop sharing this? I guess I'll unpin myself.
I was trying to come up with another measuring tool, but I don't.
You know, who had, somebody had a lines, had when you're wrapping the ends, there's a whip finisher. There's a special tool called a whip finisher. Who had the whip finisher?
That would be people who do fly fishing.
Yes, exactly.
Probably
There's
Dave
a
Butler.
funny wire hook that allows you to put a whipped finish. You know what a whipped finish is? When you bury the last two turns of your winding inside of the wrapping. And there's a funny little tool that fishermen use to do that. That was another little piece of kit. I couldn't find a picture of it, and they didn't send me one.
Would you like me to show you one? I've got
Yes,
some.
please.
I'll be right back.
So
in nautical terms, that whipping, they call it French whipping.
yes,
Yeah.
I don't know how the French whip one another, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
But I have to say that I commonly wrap the ends of tubes that I think, or especially because I like to use protruded tubes because of their bend, I commonly wrap the ends of them. And I don't have a whip finisher, but now I want one.
Now, one of the questions that I didn't get to ask in the last session was, do you round over the ID of your tubes after you cut them?
I do not. Does anybody else? Do we have a, does this?
I do for external, if I'm cutting aluminum tubes to make external ferrules, then I try to bevel the inside so it's not cutting into the carbon. But I don't think I do it on like it may, if I had carbon on it as an external ferrule for some reason, then maybe I would.
Yeah, and then just use a counterbore, countersink is the easiest way to do it. Or you can use a drill bit. And what I've been doing, long time in the cabinet shop, is if I want to ease the edge over on the inside, just use a drill bit, but run it backwards first, and then you can, take it in and go on the inside of the tube with a drill bit or a countersink. This guy.
I apologize for breaking in. I've got to get going, but this is a whip finish.
Okay, put your hand behind it perhaps so it doesn't get lost in that mane of beautiful hair. There you go. What you do is as you wrap the...
I've got to get going.
Bye, Dave.
Are you going to show us how to use it?
Dave, you need to sign off.
No, I think he's going to get something to show us how to use the whip finisher.
Oh,
Okay, Lindsay, can you mute? Because every time you move or say anything, you take focus.
Andre, when I cut external ferrules, I use a pipe cutter, like a regular plumber's pipe cutter. And that leaves a very sharp edge on the internal diameter of the metal. And I do soften that. I have a little set of files and I do soften that. I don't do it for carbon fiber, but I definitely do it for metal.
I'm talking about one of these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I hate these things. So slow.
Also, with my Dremel tool, I've got some cone-shaped stones that can be used for the inside. If you want to relieve the inside of your fiberglass or your carbon a little bit, to very lightly touch it with the cone-shaped stone from the Dremel tool.
Do you actually put it in the Dremel tool, Bob, or do you just turn it by hand because the carbon fiber is so soft?
I've used it in the Dremel tool, but you could probably do it by finger spin.
Cool, great idea. So was Dave going to show us did he leave or did he, was he going to show us the whip tool?
I think he ran out of time.
Yeah, he signed up.
Great.
Yeah.
Any other good ideas about what to do about does anybody else double or even triple their tubes? Oh, wow, what you got?
Okay, hang on one second. Let me grab a ferrule.
Is there anybody else doubling up their tubes, you know, or putting tubes inside of tubes in order to reinforce them the way John was doing?
I might be doing that soon. I've been having issues with some rods breaking on an aluminum ferrule, so I might be trying to push stuff on the inside to strengthen that. But
I
okay,
did
haven't tried it
that
yet.
once for a Rakaku that needed a stronger spine. So what I did was put another spar inside of it, and that did the trick. It was something for another flyer.
I plug most of my places.
Craig, don't know. I'm dying to hear what you have to say, but that was feedback.
So what I have here, this is a deburring tool. It's used in sheet metal and plastic for internal. So if you pin it, you can see there's a cutter, and there's various sizes that are in here and different angles. It's a deburring tool. But like on an aluminum ferrule, if you cut that like Spence was saying, you just put it inside and you go around and you're deburred. Okay, so and they don't work really well on the outside just because of the mechanics of it, but inside you just go around and you're done, and it works perfect. It'll also work on inside of tubes as long as you can get it in and you're clean.
You can buy those at any place that would sell a metal lathe or metal lathe equipment.
You can also just go to Amazon and buy them too. And make sure that you're supporting the AKA by doing Amazon Smile. I don't know. I already said that, didn't I? Bye.
Yep. Craig, did you have something? If you want to chime in, I think we were getting a bit of feedback from you. So maybe if you turn down the speakers or something when you're on mute, that might help. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I plug all my pultrudes at this point using at least 1 inch beyond where you need to have it stop, like at the ferrule, if it's going into a pocket. But I use super glue gel inside the pultrude before I put the plug in, because it fills the outside and it doesn't run down to the end and glue whatever's running out the end to my fingers, the table, or whatever.
So tell me, it's not clear to me. Are you saying that you put a plug in the end of all of your tubes before they go into the pocket?
Put the plug into the pultrude, and it's hard finding things that are an exact match on different size pultrudes. And I've created a whole lot of dust with fiberglass, sanding it down. That's when I went to gel to fill the outside. Regular CA glue, it just is too runny and it either sticks too quick or doesn't give you anything out the other end. So the gel works a little bit better. But yeah, what I was having a lot of problems with pultrudes splintering, the ends splintering.
Yeah, that's the weakness of pultruded tubes, aren't they? If I can add another thing, there's polyurethane glue. If you put a generous amount of polyurethane glue on your plug, where it's open to the air, polyurethane glue will foam. But if it's enclosed, you can make a lining of polyurethane glue that's probably up to 1/8 of an inch thick. That really is solid polyurethane and really does reinforce things. And so if you need to fill a space, I think that gel super glue works fine. But polyurethane glue, Gorilla Glue, the original Gorilla Glue, will also fill space like that if it's a confined space.
Gorilla Glue is activated by water, by moisture.
Yes, I just breathe on it. Before I plug it in, I just...
Well, no, in woodworking, you have to have at least 10% moisture content for it to be activated. So you have to wet the wood in order for it to activate. So you could probably put water in, and then when you plug it in, then it'll foam up and fill. because it grows to like 10 times its mass.
Yeah. Any other good ideas so far? I've written down 4 new things that I hadn't thought of before.
Mitch, I wanted to show you something cool.
Yeah.
Now, right now I'm talking about wood and not carbon, but I carve my own spars by using this. Am I too close? Now, this, it does not use calipers. These are micrometers on the left and right side. And so I can match the micrometers and get a straight piece of wood, or I can increase or decrease one if I wanted a tapered piece of wood. But there's an aluminum wall, and I've pushed the wood against the wall, put the bar on top of the wood, and then slice it using a knife. Pretty cool, but I don't use it very often.
Sliding along the top of the aluminum bar. Great idea. That's wonderful. I mean, especially if you're working with bamboo, that would be great.
I only use it for balsa wood. Because
You know,
bamboo I strip or, split. But balsa wood or basswood, I would cut. It's a very expensive tool, but it does a small job very nicely.
That is a beautiful tool. Thank you, Glenn. The other thing another thing I should add, now that you're talking about cutting things down, I have a friend in the fighter kite community who is very exacting, and he, when he tests the flex of his small spars on his fighter kites, if they don't flex evenly, he sands them down, and you can actually, using 220 and then 600 grit sandpaper, you can actually adjust the flex of a carbon fiber tube. You have to know the axis of on which it's flexing, and he sands the convex side of it. He does the convex side of it. He also takes flat carbon. He takes a razor blade, puts a few business cards on his glass surface, and tapes a razor blade to that. And he takes his flat carbon and he sort of pushes the end of the flat carbon past this razor blade, and it splits the flat carbon. Then he puts a few drops of super glue between the two splits and puts it against a little jig that he's made out of a piece of wood. I suppose you could use a teaspoon or whatever. And within a few seconds, he has a flat carbon piece that is pre-bent. So for fighter kites, he doesn't, if he's not using bamboo for his spine, he's got a pre-made bend on his. I thought it was brilliant. So he doesn't have all that extra stuff hanging off the top of his fighter kites to make a bend. So I thought that was great.
Mitch, I added the link to the deburring tool in the chat.
Excellent. So incidentally, the guy is Bob Hegeman. I hope he doesn't mind my using his name. I didn't talk to him about this, but Bob Hegeman is really the.
That sounded like Bob.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, if you know Bob, that's him, all right. He's an engineer to the bone. Let's talk about design and layout. Let's talk about design and layout. Everybody's got rulers, is that right? Everybody's got rulers. Everybody have stainless steel rulers for like high cutting? Do you guys have big rulers? You got long rulers? You guys use little rulers too?
Got some big long ones, and I got some like 18-inch ones.
Yeah, and you don't carry, you have one of these little.
No, I don't have little metal ones. I have some little like I don't know, little plastic guys for measuring angles, and also works as a ruler. But yeah, 18-inch I can usually fit on the table one way or another and hot cut with it.
Yeah. I have an 18-inch. I have a 48-inch one that's, well, excuse me, a 60-inch one that's great for, because I also make sails. So if you're cutting the bottom of a spinnaker, 18 inches don't help much. But if, but these little ones, I find I use these quite a bit actually, and it sits in my back pocket. But the thing that I use most.
Hey, Mitch, can I add to that? That
Please.
little ruler is pretty cool. And what I did was I bought one that is exactly the width of my hems. So I can put the ruler in place. I don't have to measure. The width of the ruler is exactly what I need. I did that for me, and I gave it to somebody as a gift too.
You got a ruler that was like a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and just use it as a marker. Great idea. The alternative, and I don't know if you need to pin me to see this, is this, you guys use these quilting, see-through quilting rulers?
No.
Oh, these are the cat's pajamas. You know, the great thing about these, many people make them, they're made in quilting stores. Incidentally, because I'm old and my hands are stiff, you know, ex-rock climbers never get over it. I have these little suction cups that I use on my plastic stuff. I have some on metal things as well. But now I can't get it off. You can set this at a certain length and use either a razor blade or even better, these rotary cutters along the edge of the plastic. So you know exactly how deep you're cutting. So if you wanted a 2-inch piece, you just lay this at the edge to the 2-inch point, and then you cut along the edge and Bob's your uncle. It's got 45 and 60 and 30-degree angles all over the place. It's like a little cutting mat, a little portable cutting mat. So this is made by OmniGrid, but I'm sure that there's lots of, I don't get paid by OmniGrid.
At quilting supply stores everywhere.
Any quilting supply. So you guys use these, they'll change your life.
Glenn mentioned the width of his ruler, and that made me think a lot about these little templates that I had made from Send Cut Send, where I send a vector file and they just cut out of metal and send me stuff. So I've got, like, you know, just a little 1-inch that I use all the time for reinforcements, a 2-inch with a little hole cut out where I cut this little hole all the time for leading edge T-fittings on quadline kites, and then like reinforcements that I fold in half for the bottom corners of quadline kites. Similar one for my indoor one, which is slightly different dimensions. So like just those sorts of things. So super handy. What's that?
Can you post the address of who does that for you?
Yeah, there's a few of them, but I used sendcutsend.com. I'll put it in the chat.
Is it very expensive?
For little bits, it's not too bad. I think it was less than $100 for me to get these, and that was probably too much. They made it like way thicker than I needed to. so I could probably
and Spence, those are aluminum, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
I would suggest you cut them like Dan and Kurahashi would say, out of stainless steel.
Yep. Yeah, they offer that as well.
Yeah, because stainless
aluminum was
steel
cheaper, I think, and for short little tiddly bits, I wasn't worried too much about the heat problem.
Yeah, but the thing is that the stainless steel will stay cool, where your aluminum will get hot if you're using a lot of heat on it and using them for a long time. Right, Dan?
Yes. Stainless steel transfer the heat a lot less than the aluminum, so that it will be better for your soldering iron or whatever you're cutting tool, hot cut tool. Stainless steel edge wouldn't be as taking away your heat as your aluminum plate. So, and the stainless steel shop, if you go to the stainless steel shop with somebody who has the laser cutter, they can cut you those pieces very, very cheap, because they always have the scrap throw into the garbage can. That where I used to work before the laser cutter, we wasted 32% of stainless steel into the garbage can. because of the stainless steel has grain. And when you make the kitchen cabinet, grain cannot be run this way and the other one like this. You have to go horizontal, so that the wastage is quite big. After the laser cutter, the waste come down to about 8%. So they can cut you anything you want in between. They can nest, so that the I used to order the about 1.25 million stainless steel sheets per year, and that came down to about less than, probably, well, little less than 1 million anyway. So 250,000 per year saving.
So you're talking about making a 1-inch by 3-inch piece of steel, and he's talking about ordering
I cannot hear you.
sheets. You're bound to find a 1-inch ruler in there someplace for you.
I cannot hear you. Mitch?
Yeah, Dan, I think it's on your side. I can hear Mitch fine. Do you hear me, Dan?
I can increase my sound, but okay. Okay, go on, Ryan.
Some of these services, the laser services, they typically have a minimum. But what you can ask them is that, you know, if you're not in a real time constraint, you don't need it right away. They may be able to take your item and put it into where the scrap is going to be at, say on a center of a big hole, and they can blast it right, you know, through that for you, you know, at the time they're making the other parts. They just tag it along.
Craig, what are you showing you? Hang on a minute, Lindsay. Craig, what are you showing us?
I had a problem with a 48-inch aluminum straight edge for hot cutting, and I grabbed a piece of Pergo flooring laminate 48-inch and used that as a straight edge. It's a laminate, you know, a melamine laminate, so it handles heat real well. It's a straight edge and it doesn't suck heat out of the tip of the cutter.
Yeah, and it's lighter too.
It is, and it's a great weight, you know. It's something that was handy and useful. Along with, for spars, anything I'm cutting carbon and I don't want to go out to the garage to find sandpaper, sand edges down, I keep emery boards from the dollar store handy and a wet washcloth and do the sanding over the washcloth to make sure the carbon stays in that. Another thing being that I've got cats and I'm conscious of the crap that they'll pick up from it. I always take a coffee can, cut an X in the top, all my spare threads, anything that comes off the machine goes into this instead into the cat's mouth, which then has to come out through a vet and a $400 vet bill.
Yeah, I have to say that I've had that. I have in fact found little tip ends of cut off pieces of carbon fiber in the cat box. So I don't know if it came out of its mouth or the other end of it, but I think that's a good idea. Controlling.
I pulled 20 foot of thread out of my Tomcat once, very slowly, very slowly.
Greg, that's a disgusting thought. Can I unthink that now, please?
It was out of his mouth. It was the Easter grass that came out the other end.
Dan, I have to say that one of the techniques, can you hear me, Dan, incidentally?
Beg your pardon? You talking to me?
One of the techniques that Dan teaches is how to fuse plastic together to make plastic kites. And while I use some aluminum templates, and for the short stuff that I do, like Spencer, I don't really find much difference. But if you wanted proof of that concept, where temperature really does make a difference, when you're searing plastic together, when you're sealing plastic together, running it along an aluminum straight edge, you can really tell the difference. It does, you know, it really, you do have to turn up your, I mean, it's surprising how much difference it makes. It doesn't make that much difference for me cutting, you know, 36 inches, I just go slower. But the other things that I wanted to talk about were these. We talked about the the OmniGrid. Can you see this? I know that it's plastic, and it's hard to get the. This is a T-square, and most of the T-squares have a little step off to catch at the end of a table or something. But this is a light plastic self-centering T-square. It's got a little 0 in the middle here. And I have actually stolen this from my wife's quilting stash. And while it's too short to really do whole quilts, for things like applique or placing applique, if I could find a little light T-square without a step off, I would be a happy man. So I don't know if you guys have got a handle on a little T-square. Can you guys see it at all anyway? Somebody nod their head. You can see it, yeah.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah,
if you're okay
great.
with plastic, we could probably print a small one.
You know what? My son.
I can cut it on a laser.
You know
Yes,
what?
Lindsay can solve your problems with lasers.
Yeah.
And this, you guys know about this. Let me lock the angle with it. You see what this is? This is a variable protractor. I originally was using this to do radiology with. It's called a goniometer. And if somebody has a fracture, you measure the angle of the fracture to determine who needs surgery or not. But you also can use it for repeating or discovering and repeating angles. I don't know if you guys saw my talk on doing Dresden plates, but where angles really make a difference. I don't know if you can see that. There's so much plastic stuff, but it's got a little brass thing and it's got a quite accurate. So, so what are you guys using for this? Do you just have protractors? Oh, too cool.
So Mitch, you're what was it, a goniometer?
Yeah.
Okay, that was probably $300.
Well, this one probably, I think I fished out of the trash when the radiologist.
I know, I'm being facetious here, but this was $27. But this one's aluminum, or yeah, and then you lock it down, and so then you've got your long arm, short arm, but then you can also flip it around and go the other way.
What is it sold as? What is it called?
It's called a Creator Protractor.
Nice. And you guys have fixed triangles, 30, 60, 90s, 45s?
Yeah.
Everybody's got triangles. I've got metal ones for cutting. But...
And then this 30, 60, 90 that I made, that's cut on my CNC router, but this is phenolic it's fabric reinforced phenolic. Its circuit boards are made out of it, and laminate countertop is a phenolic resin. So basically, that's the same as countertop material.
Is that heat resistant?
Oh yeah. All phenolics are somewhat heat resistant. It's not
So
the real high temp stuff, but
do you hot cut with it?
yeah.
Oops,
Yeah,
sorry about that.
And then you showed your French curves.
Just let's talk about French curves in a second. I want to, while we're talking about rings, Craig Rogerson has got the Windfire rings up.
Yeah, the Windfire is really cool.
You guys should pin that to take a closer look at those. Those are wonderful.
Yeah, they have two different sizes, don't they?
Yeah, he's got both of them there.
But the inside of one matches the outside of one matches the inside of the next. It's really well done.
They're wonderful.
Here's one for you, Mitch. I don't know if you saw my post on this guy.
Oh, the
this is the Maker's Cabinet Iris.
Iris, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got measurements on the side and a little indicator in centimeters for the diameter of the circle. So as you rotate it, you know what your diameter is, and it comes with a little block that you can set in it to determine where the center is.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very nice. It was just beautiful.
Do you actually use that?
I use it every now and I use it anytime I want a specific size that I can't get out of this. Like, you know, if I have a 1-inch tab and I want to round the end of it or something, then this is great because I have such a degree of flexibility. I can have like, make a circle for whatever size I want within this 7 centimeter range. But if it's something where it's a little bit more premeditated, then I'll probably go with something like this and then make it a piece to match the size to work with this guy. But it is useful, and they are metal, and you can hot cut against them.
You can hot, and does it stay stable enough that as you hot cut it?
Yeah, it's got a rubber backing on it so that it, you know, kind of stays where you have it, which is nice. So you generally would put it down on the table and then center it, and then just rotate like that to change the aperture.
I really want one.
But they're really cool. I'll put a link.
And in that regard, you guys use French curves. Yeah. This is really the size French curve that I would use, but can you see them? I don't know if you can.
Yeah, we can see them.
You know, I have found, you guys, you nod if you use French curves, if you know what I'm talking about. Guys never have. Okay, well, what French curves are a series of predetermined mathematically correct curves. And I find a lot of kiters don't use them because they don't know how to use them. They don't know how to use them. Dressmakers and tailors use them all the time.
Mitch, I think you're muted at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mitch, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
So did you hear when I said that I didn't think that kiters use French curves?
We heard up to there, and then you
Okay,
heard stuff after that.
The
And then-
cat was walking across my desk, and I think she hit the space bar. The way you use a French curve is you put in dots. You put in the points that you want to meet. So if you want something to be, you know, 3 inches away or 2 inches away, and you put down the dots of reference dots of where you want it to be, and then you match the part of the curve that meets your dots. And if you want to reproduce that curve, you just put a little tick mark with a pencil over that section of the curve, and that way you can reproduce the curve in all the different places. And so it's really a very convenient way to establish a smooth line once you know what your reference points are. I suppose you can, oh, there you go. Roy's got one. Yeah, that's a big one. Roy, I think you're muted.
You're right. That's a dressmaker's curve. It's 60 centimeters long on the long edge, and it's got a lovely curve. It's great for doing the edge of sails where you want a little bit of curve to improve the tension.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have used, in fact, I think there's still tape stuck on mine, Roy, but I have used this section of the curve on the underside of any number of kites, and that's how I do it. You know, this is the midpoint and this is the wing, or I guess here's the tape here.
Yeah.
So for fighter kites, I arch the back wing, and rather than trying to flex a piece of carbon and trace that, I just use French curve. Donna, do you use French curves?
I typically do not.
But so you make a lot of beautiful curvy kites, and I was just wondering.
Hey, Mitch.
Yep.
Yeah, I was checking to see if you could hear me. Some time ago, I was struggling to try to find a French curve, a metal French curve that was large enough to be able to cut against. And I found some larger, I guess they're called ship's curves, but they were all plastic. And I'm looking on Amazon, I'll see if I can add the links, or maybe Spencer can. I found what are called hip curves for dressmaking and that sort of thing. And they're actually long metal curves. It's kind of like one of the shallow shapes of a French curve. and it was really handy. There's two different ones. One's made by Dritz and one's made by Fairgate. And I found between those two, I can get just about any curve I want. And it sort of approximates what you do with a fiberglass rod or with a carbon fiber rod. It's really handy. You can use it for drawing, but then later you can come back and use it for cutting against. So I found them very useful. Yeah, thanks.
So Mitch,
I found the Fairgate one real quick and threw that in the chat.
I put in the chat flexible curves, and we've used them in woodworking for a long time. And when I was in art school, I had a plastic one that was lead lined, and you could shape it into any curve you wanted, and then it would stay in that shape, and then you could move it around and transfer it.
Was that a triangle profile?
The rubber one that I had was kind of a triangular shape, more of a trapezoid. And then it had rulings on it too, an architectural scale. But there's there's a 37-inch one in the link on Amazon, and it's, I don't know, $39, but it locks in place. So what you could do is, Barb was showing a flexible curve. Can I share this just real quick? Hang on, just for a second there. Okay. You see that? Can you see? I mean, do you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so what I would say is that you could, if you wanted to make a template, design your curve, establish the curve, you can lock it in, then you can transfer that to a piece of 1/8-inch medium density fiberboard or your book board, and then cut it, and then you've got your curve that you can use.
And then you could put aluminum duct tape on the edge for hot cutting.
If you're going to be hot cutting, and but it's pretty cool for, it really gives you opens up, some possibilities. The other thing, we're all talking about, mechanical design right now with the French curves and stuff. The other, which some of us have embraced, of course, is digital design. And I will put a link in to a free vector-based design program that's similar to Illustrator and Corel, and it's called Inkscape. And Inkscape is pretty straightforward. There's tutorials available. And what you can do is that if you've got, say, large templates, hang on, I'll show you one here.
While he's digging that out, let me
okay.
A second.
Go ahead.
Stuff called InvisiGrip, and so whatever you're using for your templates, this is a kind of peel off the back plastic stuff that's just a little bit grabby. It's some kind of vinyl, and it's just a touch grabby. And I put it on the back end of my plastic rulers or metal rulers, so that when I lay them, or my templates, so when I lay them down, they're not skating all over the fabric. And you buy it in a roll and cut it to where you want. You can also buy little,
Mitch, is it very thick?
But it makes it just a little bit grabby so that your templates don't slide around.
Is it clear?
Mitch, is it
clear?
And it's thick? How thick is it? I'm thinking of putting it on my light table. That could be really nice.
It is not very thick, and I'll see if I can tell you that.
Except, Waddy, if you hot cut on it, you'll cut right through.
Oh, yeah. Damn it. Okay, half of it with that, the other half.
You'll melt it to your table.
Just dust it lightly with some adhesive, and then wipe it off when you're done.
Yeah, I've been thinking of doing that.
Yeah.
We could talk about spray adhesives later on.
We will.
Yeah.
But it's too small of a piece of. It's too small a piece of a millimeter for me to tell you how thick it is. Very good.
Mitch, I use what it is called a 3M spray mount on the back of my rulers. So I spray it on and let it lay down for a while, that it dries a little bit, and after that, it feels like a rubber surface on the back of the ruler.
Yeah.
So, and it holds for months. That's absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
I also use it for my metal templates. So this thing to hold down on fabric, it's a hell. So I spray down the spray glue. I have a handle here on this side, and then I can rotate it on the table, and it works really fast. And so maybe that could be a good tip for Spencer for his very small templates.
Yeah.
And my newest template is printed from my 3D printer.
Cool.
I tried it only once. I don't know how long it will last, but if it's useful only for 100 pieces, I just print a new one.
Well, I wonder
That's
with
not
the
a
3D
problem.
printed one, if you could still put like aluminum tape on it and hot cut against it. I don't know if that would, yeah. Because it'll, obviously the plastic will melt eventually because it's thermoplastic, but.
I use this templates only for a knife, not for hot cutting, for this purpose.
But you could, but you printed out of the carbon nylon. It has a higher temperature melting point, 500 C.
But I don't need hot cutting on these pieces.
Yeah,
it's not necessary for my use here.
Yeah.
So I will try this with a knife, and I will see how many pieces I can cut with one. And
I'm
at the
just
end,
curious if I
just
could
print
do
a new one.
I'm curious if I could do something like that for hot cutting, but just if I could just use aluminum tape to make it functional for hot cutting if I wanted to. I kind of wonder if that would work.
Either that, or if you're 3D printing, could you put a metal edge into the print, right? Print a little bit, stick a metal edge in, print some more.
Yeah, you can. Yep. That's another subject.
It also depends on how many kites you're making. Like you could make a throwaway tool that only lasts 5 kites.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. But this is, as you can see, the length is 10 centimeters. It's a very small part. And I think this, I have another one with a different shape, and I think I cut it a few thousand pieces with this one. And it's still there because it's made from brass. So I don't think the plastic one from the 3D printer will last that long.
Yeah. So
for cutting, it probably would.
Is that it doesn't slice the edge off of your plastic templates. You know, I find that I have to be a little careful when I'm using a razor knife or a snap blade along plastic templates because I can like shave a little bit off.
Yeah, I think I have to sand it a little bit on the edge a little bit. That's the knife cannot go into the plastic. Yeah.
You could print that too with the
sure.
Never mind. Okay. So back to
Lindsay, that was the first one. The first one.
I know. So I was talking about Inkscape for creating digital templates. And Inkscape is what's called a vector design software. And so that's all XYZ coordinates. So it's all mathematical. You can upscale, downscale, and it's all accurate. It's not like a bitmap where you pixelate things. So you can draw small and large, big, and so these. Can you see the holes? Okay.
Yep.
These are templates for a beach ball, and it's out of 1/8" medium density fiberboard, and this is the other half of it. And so they're put together like a puzzle, like that. And so then you can, create long templates. So this is for a small soccer ball. I'm doing some for Cindy Thrall that are, I think, a 20-foot diameter 15-foot diameter beach ball. And so it'll be 3 pieces, just easier to handle. The holes are not for design. It's just to make them lighter. But what you can do is you can design this and go to a guy like me, a cabinet shop that has a CNC router. This material is like $10 a sheet for a 4x8 sheet. And if you give him a very good vector file that you know is right, this takes about I think these two took probably about a minute and a half to cut. And so, you know, you can get a lot of templates made. So if you're doing a workshop, or say you wanted to make a 5 of these soccer balls, I mean, just, you know, get into trying to do some digital design. And then
one of the things that I'd like to say about vector design, yesterday we had this outstanding talk about using full-size templates for making kites. And Kevin from Canada was talking about using these large designs. And if you use a bitmap, a PowerPoint or Photoshop, as you enlarge the design, the lines get fatter. But if you design using a vector program, you can enlarge it, say, to the size of Jupiter, and the lines would stay thin. The lines would stay their original size. So until you're measuring things in astronomical units, the lines would still be easier to sew. So that's the advantage of a vector program.
One of the things that I think about when Inkscape comes up, I use Illustrator for a lot of those sorts of designs, but I got an embroidery machine not long ago, and there's a free plugin for Inkscape called InkStitch. And so I can do my own digitization to do embroidery. So I embroider my kite sleeves with the kite that's in them. And it's just awesome. So it's all automated. I do the thing in Illustrator, move it over to Inkscape, digitize it with InkStitch. That gives me out a file I can send to my embroidery machine to make these nice embroidered sleeves for kites when I make them. And I've been loving that because I use a lot of red and black kites and the sleeves all look the same. So having the embroidery on it is awesome.
While we're talking about making designs and cutting things, what do you guys use for compasses? Having good circles. Obviously, there's various circle templates, but if you want something quite specific or to copy something, what do you guys use for compass, for a circle compass?
For me, large circles, I use a trammel points. And trammel points you can put on a wooden yardstick or a piece of wood that's the dimensions of a wooden yardstick, since you can't find a wooden yardstick anymore. Anyway, you insert the yardstick into it, clamp it down. It's got a point and a pencil.
Two separate parts.
Mitch, that's what I use right there.
Yeah, that's
what I
trammel.
use. You're showing your hand with that.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Except yours fits on I actually have one on a yardstick as well. And you can find wooden yardsticks, but you have to go to, oh yeah, there it is.
Well, right, that's the trammel points right there.
Yeah, nice done, Gary, thank you.
But I put those on a 6 foot or 8 foot or 10 foot stick to swing an arc. For like a deck or something.
Mitch, I just wanted to say I've got the same blue set that you have that go on a 1/2-inch dowel that I got at Sears 30 years ago.
Cliff, what are you showing us?
This is a little one. It's great. We got it at a quilting fair, and you can change the diameter by this, and you just put the point in and you spin this thing around it, and it's done in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And you can go up to about 4.5-inch radius.
Does that cut?
Absolutely. It's got a,
okay.
circular blade right here. And that's the brand OLFA.
Yeah, I have one of those Olfa roller cutter compass.
Yeah, and it is really slick.
I in the old days, I was used to use, well, I still, to a great extent, use a standard architect's compass. But then Dave, who is very much the engineer, let me see if I can't share this picture he sent me. Sent me this picture, which is, can you see it?
Not yet.
Huh.
Yeah, I see it.
I can see it on mine.
You can go large by huge with that.
Yeah, except I thought that was a clever. I thought that was a clever innovation. That's some sort of architectural thing.
Yep.
That gives you nice, precise circles. So I thank you, Dave, for submitting it.
Well, what that
Yeah, like with a little ankle.
Something that everybody knows about the wind fire circles.
Yeah, those are brought up. Yep.
Hey, I tried for those that you make. I did. I tried.
Lindsay, you're muted, just so you know.
These are a curated set for kite builders by kite builders, so they all work with each other.
Yeah, we brought those up a little earlier when we were talking about circles. We had a few of them.
I'm sorry I wasn't here.
Yeah, no worries. They are great.
Okay.
What do you guys use to mark fabric? Just this is a very brief subject, but just what do you use for fabric marking?
I use for dark fabrics, I have 0.5 millimeter, or actually they're 0.9 millimeter white chalk refills for my engineering pens. And then for light fabrics, I use, I think they're bee leads, which are nice and soft.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Doran showed me on to these guys, these Roxanne, these like silver pencils, the very quilter's pencils, and they're quite soft. You can get them on Amazon. Roxanne's Quilter's Choice, I can grab a link later, but they've been very nice for any dark fabrics. And then for lighter fabrics, I just use a normal mechanical pencil, but, and they come off with water.
They disappear with water?
Yep, water soluble, and they mark pretty well. You can get them sharp, but they're pretty soft, so they dull real fast. But I've been a big fan of them.
Nice circle template. Roy's got a great circle template.
Hey, Mitch, you were also talking about the circle templates, and Sam King showed that he used that at his class at an OKR for making smaller holes, like for spar exits, and that is it's a knitting needle gauge to show what size knitting needle you need. But that's real handy for making small holes, like when you need a spar coming out of a pocket or a spar coming out of a sleeve and stuff. That's nice for cutting little small accurate holes.
Or for bridling coming through the sail.
Yeah, and again, it's just smaller holes, but it's really nice. You can lay it flat, and it's really easy to hot cut around.
Great idea. And Roy, do you put a pin through the center of that and rotate it? Is that how that works? You're muted, old boy. Roy, you're muted.
Roy, we can't hear you.
You're okay now. Roy, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm okay now.
All right, good.
It's called a circle scribe. It's got a sharp pin in the middle, a screw that has screwed into it, and along this axis, it's marked in millimeters, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, up to 100, and the ones around the rest of the circle step in 0.1 of a millimeter at a time. And you can use a pencil through the holes, but it also comes with a beast with a pointy blade on it, so you can actually cut a circle. I don't know if you can see that. That's the bit that fits on with the blade in it, which I've just stuck in the side of my finger, of course. It's, as far as I know, it's a UK thing, but it's called a circle scribe. I do use it, not always. It depends what I'm trying to do.
You know what? Can you type that into the chat, Waddy?
Yeah, I'll check on something.
I think that's a dynamite idea. You know, in fact, I was going to save it for the sewing section, but I have various companies make devices that you can slip into your sewing machine that have a pin on one side, and the feed dogs of the sewing machine rotate a piece of fabric around that central pin and sew a perfect circle. So you can cut a perfect circle, or you can just sew a perfect circle using one of those jigs. These are they make. Who is the company? Is BOHN. I don't know. I think that it's too small to see this. Can you see that? BOHN. Bond makes quilting markers, and they fit into 0.9 pencils. Now, I went to Walmart. I don't love to use Walmart, but I went to Walmart, and the only way you can buy 0.9 millimeter pencils is to buy 2 dozen of them in a little plastic bag. So if anybody wants some 0.9 pencils, please do let me know, and I'll pay postage if you just get them the hell out of my house. But these bone water soluble leads, they're very fine, they're thin, but you can get them white or purple, and I have 3 or 4 of them in different colors, so I can use them on light or dark fabric. And it's just a very inexpensive. Leads last a long time. They're a bit expensive, but these pens are essentially giveaways. So so my grandfather came to this country as a tailor, and I still have some of his chalk, some of his tailor's chalk. I use it for sentimental reasons, but you can't get it off of nylon. Doesn't brush off, doesn't wash off. So if I don't mind having it, hiding under edge binding.
It's not exactly a fine line either.
No, it's a fat line.
I used Taylor's chalk recently on the whales that everybody's been working on, and Googled how to remove the chalk because there's apparently wax in it.
Yeah.
If you mix vinegar 50-50 with water, you can get almost all of it off.
Yeah, I actually that's a good tip, vinegar and water. I'd love to continue to use it. The flip side is that if I want to get this off, I'll show you how exactly I do it. That's how I get that off. So,
Mitch, I'm gonna just pause real quick. We got about 10 more minutes, 11 minutes until the next session. So I'm gonna jump over to there and get that one going. So we will turn this into the Wild West where there will be no moderator, but that's okay. We're all adults. So I'm gonna get that going. Yeah, you guys feel free to stay in here. It'll stay open and keep recording until the last person leaves. Cheers.
One of the things
has a pencil that's water soluble, white. The problem is the lead breaks really easily, but it's a great water soluble sail marking. I think it's from North Sails. You got to just make a very short point on the pencil. Sorrel.
You can buy roller balls that are heat soluble, heat disappear. There's ink things that look like a ballpoint pen that when you iron them, they go away. And if you wanted a really quite obvious line, sometimes when I'm making something that I really have to be able to see because I'm sewing fast on a big commercial machine, like on a sail, I use these pens and you iron them and they just disappear completely. It's wonderful. What am I looking at, Rhonda? Are you muted? You are muted. Oh.
It's the
one
friction.
of the pens.
I'll post it in the chat.
What is it?
It's called friction, Frixion, and that's the heat soluble.
Yeah, heat disappearing or whatever it is.
But I'll put it in the chat.
Does anybody else use something else for marking?
I get water soluble pencils, various colors from like a Blick's art supply store, and so you just take a damp cloth and it wipes right off.
Yeah,
I use the pencils from Faber-Castell called Albrecht Dürer. It's also not water resistant, so you can wash it out very easily.
Excellent. What are you showing us, Andrew?
This is a sort of yellow Sharpies, because normally you only get a yellow Sharpie when you buy a set of 30 different colors, but I keep yellow ones. Because if you mark on yellow, by the time you put it in the sky, you can't see it. It's not going to work for the people that are doing things that are really small and looking at detail, but for big kites, it just disappears. And it also works in a plotter. So if you're using a plotter and you need to cut with a laser and mark with a marker, it's perfect for that. So not for everybody, but yeah, another thing.
Mitch, what was the initials for the lead you used, please?
Tell me again. What was the what?
The initials for the lead you use.
Oh yes.
The 9mm.
Bohin. Bohin.
Sorry. E.
Let's put it in the chat.
If you would, please.
I think I know they're not American. I think they're made in France, but they're available everywhere. In fact, when I was in Australia, I could buy them in Australia. So I
Right. Thank you, Mitch.
Oh yes. Let me see if I can. I'll drop it into the chat.
Spence put it in at 4:49 p.m. is where the tag is. I can copy and paste it if you want.
Okay, great. Thank you. So there's about a billion more things we could talk about. There are a few things that I am hoping to actually get your guys' opinions.
Hey, Mitch, you haven't covered blue tape yet.
Yes. I said something unflattering about blue tape yesterday, and now I am regretting having said that. I've had my frustrations with blue tape because it doesn't seem sticky enough for me, but apparently I'm in the small minority of people who love blue tape.
Well, it depends on what grade of blue tape you buy.
Is that right? I've just been buying the cheap stuff, and so
well, that's your problem. No, I'm not being glib. It's just that the 3M blue tape, you got to pay the bucks for the good goo.
Good stuff.
Remind me next time that you make, I'll use green tape.
Well, but green tape is a different adhesive. That green tape is for lacquer paint, and blue tape is for another tape paint. And I mean, it's
yeah. I'm just trying to stick together two pieces.
It's all graded. But what I wanted to show are tape dispensers. Yeah, but tape dispensers. Here, this is my favorite one here, and it uses. It's designed for Scotch tape. And what it does is that it poops out a bit of tape. You can pull on it as long as you want. It cuts it.
Nice.
Okay, so this is great for, cutting off little bits just for tacking stuff down. And it just works great. I mean, you can do that all day. It's a lot of fun, and you end up with all these bits. But it's basically just magic tape. It's good for kids kite making. That's another one that works really well for.
I have a similar tool for double-sided tape. Do you guys ever use that? There's a similar dispenser for double-sided tape, and there's a kind of double-sided tape that just lays down the adhesive. Ah, yes, a homemade double-sided tape dispenser. Love it.
Yeah, so that's the one that just lays down the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Down the tape, the glue.
Right. And
Gary, can you hold that up again, please?
this guy?
No, Gary.
Oh, Gary.
Oh, yeah, it's coming out. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's just 2 blocks of wood, dowel between them, and a regular roll of seam stick from Benbridge or Challenge or North or. Right.
You know, I have a large tape dispenser, and what I found was that the double-sided tape was sticking to the metal cutter of that, and so I found that if I put Scotch tape onto the cut just over the metal part of the cutter of a tape dispenser, I could roll off double-sided tape, tear it, and it wouldn't sort of screw up the tape by sticking to the tape dispenser. So if you guys want to just, you know, you can buy these sort of large rolled Scotch tape dispensers.
Okay.
Tape into it and tear it off as long as you've got Scotch tape on the metal part.
I just want to share this real quick so that you can be, so I can toot my own horn one more time. But this is a machine that I built for applying 1/4 inch, the pressure sensitive adhesive to our kite kits. This is the proof of concept.
Nice. So if you
Anyway.
if you want to industrialize the process, yeah. Very cool.
Anyway. Little tool.
You have too much time, Lindsay.
I know.
The other thing, another cool
I know.
tool that I use a
Hey,
lot
but
when I'm laying things out is a lot of people using tacky board or they're gluing down their applique. And do you guys know about this thing? You guys know about this thing? This is a little tool that you snap onto the top of a spray can. And my problem with spray cans is that I always had trouble putting down just the tiniest mist of spray, which is all you really want to put down on a tack board or on your applique. And you know, this is a $3 tool that I've used about 1 billion times. That's not really true, but I've used many hundreds of times. If I used it once a second, it would take me 230 years to do it 1 billion times. But anyway, so I just thought that's another great cheap tool that I really love. Anybody else have any other good adhesive tools, tape dispensers or spray cans? Or I heard that somebody loves 3M spray mount. What are you guys using?
I was going to say one thing, Mitch.
Yep.
If you're getting like Lindsay had the adhesive film dispensers, like the 3M, not the carriers. If you go look at the craft version of that, it's about $10 to $15, $20 cheaper than buying the 3M designed for industry. Because I got 2 of them and I went to buy a backup and it's pink, but I don't care. It was under crafts and stuff at Joann's, but it was quite a bit cheaper than buying the normal 3M dispenser. So it's just a good way to save a little money.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, 3M is real proud of their stuff. But this one I got from a company called Tape Jungle, I believe. And they're an importer, but yeah. And it's ATG. It's for crafting. It's for book. I
suspect that if I was laying down 40 miles a day and I had a line of a dozen 12-year-old slave labor Chinese girls doing taping for me, I'd want the big one. But as it is, the other thing is, what are you guys using? This is a 505 temporary fabric adhesive that I got at some craft store. So what are you guys using to spray down your stuff? Do you guys use spray glue? 3M makes 77, but that's horrible.
Yeah, that's horrible stuff. It's too tacky.
Yeah, it's gooey, you can't get it off. And
Yeah, I use yeah.
Nice.
But I mentioned yesterday. Anyway, I use it's called Sprayway, and it's for t-shirt platens. And you what? Oh, Rhonda was waving. Anyway, it for spraying on t-shirt platens for screen printing, and it's a great tack, but it doesn't transfer to the fabric. So that's what I use.
Hey, Lindsay, what's the odor like on that?
It's really, really mild. Yeah. And you don't have to tack it. You don't use much, and it lasts a long time.
Yeah,
Because you remember on t-shirts, you know, because the cotton is going in, you know, is getting down into the glue every time you put a t-shirt on and you screen print. So
What I sometimes use for applique, spray glue is not a good solution for me because you have to clean it off, and that's always hard work sometimes. I use Fixo Gum. I don't know if it's available in America. It's like a thick paper glue, and it holds the layer of fabrics together, very perfect. And when you cut off something and you have then you can peel it off, and the rest of the glue you can just rub off. You have little dots, little pieces then, and you can blow them away, and that's really nice. But you have to take care if your fabric is coated or not coated. So I once used it on fabric which was coated only on one side, and then on the other side you could see all the places where I used it. And if you have coated fabric like Shikara, it's no problem. You don't see anything from that.
Now Ralph, you also use what they use for vinyl letters on automobiles. What is that? The transfer. What is that stuff called?
Yeah, transfer foil.
Foil.
Yes, but I use it only for mounting. So
yeah.
I used it in a workshop with my Penrose tiling design, so that everybody had a piece of paper on its table with a template how to arrange all the ROMs. This two shapes, how to arrange them together, and then they on the paper was this transfer foil. It was light sticky, so you can put all the fabric on and remove it again, readjust it, and so on. And then that's what I'm doing right now, cutting this beautiful black stripes here. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And so when you attached everything of your fabric together, I use this stripes of adhesive spinnaker. These little pieces here, and I'm cutting at the moment 4,000 of that for the next project. And when you have everything together, then you can just remove it from this sticky surface, and it helps a lot to put things together. If I do the next designs I will make, I cannot print it because it's too big. I will spray my glass table with spray glue, and that's the same effect. I don't have a pattern underneath. I make just some lines, so guiding lines, and then I put spray glue on my glass table, and that's easy to clean. After that, with some alcohol, or before with a knife to get the big stuff off, and then with alcohol, and that's fine. That works also very good. It also helps to spray the glass table if you need to attach things very precisely. So one piece is there and cannot move anymore because the table is sticky, and then you can adjust the second part however you like it, and that helps a lot. Just a little bit, not really thick. Just that's enough.
Yeah. But who else uses a tack board? What time is it? I want to remind you guys that however much fun I'm having a terrific time, but the other session has started. So we're eating into their time, I'm afraid, but I invite you to stay. I'm having a great time. But I don't want to be disrespectful to the next speaker. So I just want to give you the heads up about that.
Yeah, we use tack boards. Ron Gibeon uses tack boards like a lot. And he uses the glass, a sheet of glass like Ralph was talking about with spray adhesive on to hot cut to. He lays his parts down and then hot cuts on the glass. As far as cleaning the spray adhesive off, I have found over my long career of gluing down countertops that mineral spirits is okay, but I use naphtha, which is in the States, it's a VM&P naphtha. It's pretty nasty stuff, so you want to wear gloves and ventilate. But what it does with adhesives, like spray adhesives, is that it doesn't liquefy it, it doesn't smear it. It balls up and rolls off, and it's collected on the rag, and it cleans fast. And but it's hot stuff, so you don't want it around it because it's volatile, but it works really well. And some people have been using lighter fluid.
I feel obliged to add something, and I hate to keep falling back into that identity, but I've taken this vow to do no harm, and to do no harm through inaction. And so please forgive me if I have to add an additional warning, which is to say naphtha, like, some people use methyl ethyl ketone, and some people use naphtha. Those are very bad for you. And so for a shop environment, we have good ventilation and it's a very large room and you can ventilate it. But if you're working in your basement, or you have an enclosed garage, you want to open the door for naphtha because it will eat your liver alive. Yeah, so they make low odor. They make a low odor mineral spirit. Is that what you were showing us, Cliff?
Yes, that's exactly right. And we do this on glass if we, on that, or it's the vinyl, like Lindsay's strip cutter thing made on vinyl. We sprayed that and glued material down to that, tacked it down to that. But this cleans everything really nice. There's no odor, and it goes real quick.
Yeah. Now, just the fact that you can't smell it doesn't mean that you shouldn't probably ventilate, but it really makes it much more.
It depends on what you want to do with it,
The citrus sprays work well too for removing adhesives. 3M makes one that you spray on. And yeah, Goo Gone, I don't like Goo Gone personally.
Me neither. It's oily.
Yeah, it leaves a residue.
You got to go in after with a wet rag and use water after.
Did we talk about light tables?
No, we could.
Well, I just want to show, this one is an LED panel that I got from the local hardware store from a display, not saying that they're available anymore, but you can buy LED ceiling panels now. And so this is a 1/4 inch thick acrylic, and it has a strip of LEDs down the side, and it edge lights the acrylic. But I don't know whether you can see it or not. These light lines that are they're laser etched into the surface.
Whoa.
Okay, and what the light travels through the line and illuminates the panel, and this is on a dimmer. And so you can lay this down on your table, like, and then you've got glass over the top of it. Yeah, you can take it to a workshop. You can take it anywhere you want. You can buy small ones, Art Supply, Dick Blick and all those. They sell different size ones that you can use for tracings. So if if you want to position some fabric, and you don't have a big surface, you can buy these small ones and at least move it around and get things positioned. But yeah, this was a display. It had a sign on it, and it was at the hardware store selling LED lights. And I said, hey, when you get rid of the display, give me a call. And so there it is.
That's a great idea. Anybody else use light tables? Raise your hand if you use a light table.
I was slow in adding a light table to my studio, but as soon as we went into lockdown last year, I went to a glass place and said, what do you have in 1/4-inch plate? He had a 6-foot by 30-inch that he gave me. And then I built the table around it.
Yeah, what do you use for light?
Picked up 2 under hood lights from Harbor Freight. It's not the best, but I've been picking up lights right along for a smaller light table. And this is what Simon Crafts had at UMake. And so I picked up 2 of those and it works. It's not the best, but it works.
You can buy these long strings of LED lights on a tape that they're very inexpensive. You can get them from Alibaba or any number of craft places. And they also are great because you can put row on row of them under your light table and it really makes a nice even underlight. The other thing,
that's what I used, Mitch. I got a free conference room table off of Craigslist and built a frame and that's exactly what I did is I put those LED strips underneath it.
Yeah. And but you can also get these, long rope lights that work really well. But the key to a light table is a diffuser. And you can graphic art supply houses, art houses, you can buy like a film that's a diffusing plastic. It's translucent, and you put that in between, under the glass, and or if you want to spend the money, you can get 1/8-inch opalescent plexiglass that's translucent, and that goes underneath, because our light tables in the graphic arts industry were that way. We had plastic underneath the glass and then all the lights.
Yeah, speaking of spray adhesive.
So you don't see the light bulbs is the thing.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of spray adhesive, I just got some plastic that was this milky colored plastic, and just spray adhesive to the bottom part of the glass so that when I set it down, it diffuses all these millions of points of light, become just a glow. But the thing about, I don't know if you guys saw my Dresden plate thing yesterday, but if you're doing multiple repeated operations, the light table works great for that. I can line up 2 pieces of blue tape. Here I am swallowing my words, but put 2 long pieces of blue tape exactly a 1/4 inch apart. And if I wanted to start marking fabric or start hot cutting fabric with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I can do it on the light table and it's instantaneous, especially if you don't mind hot tacking. You just line it up and dot, 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 you're done. So, light tables are wonderful.
My light table is 1 meter 40 by 60 centimeters with 6 neon tubes underneath.
Ah, yes.
So the good thing is I can use it for 2 layers of black fabric, and I can still see the marks. The bad thing is if I only use 1 layer of white fabric, I have to wear sunglasses. Yeah, or covering the parts I don't need, I don't use at that moment. But I made some deltas, and there I had to transfer the marks from one half to the other, and the fabric was black, so I need that strong light for that.
Well, and fluorescent light is a very diffuse kind of light, and so however much I love my setup with the LED lights really are point lights, and you have to diffuse them pretty well. Fluorescent light, and I'm not sure what the physics of this is, I wish that Glenn were here, but it makes a very sort of diffuse light that makes it easier to put under a light table. What?
Hey, I just wanted to throw out real quick. I've seen people use some spray glue and then just put tissue paper on the bottom of the glass to act as a diffuser, and that worked really well.
Yeah, that seems quite reasonable. That seems quite reasonable, because all you have to do is break up the light, right? and it's not hot. The other nice thing about hot cutting if you're hot cutting edges on a light table, you can see where you've cut through. If you turn on the underlight while you're cutting along your template, sometimes if I cut too fast, I get these little skip areas that are sort of annoying. But if I'm cutting on the light table, I can see the, light coming up through where I've successfully cut. So that's another little perk if you have a big enough table to cut a wholesale. Last thing I wanted to ask about, even though I have about 12 other things on the list, I probably shouldn't show you, but I've set up a little table next to my computer. So in case people didn't have examples of things, I have all these millions of tools. I'm embarrassed to say that I'm a collector of fine kite making tools, and I do lots more collecting than I do kite making. But what about scissors? What's your favorite scissors?
Sharp.
Ginger scissors? Yeah.
I like the ones I won from Mitch's tailor grandfather.
I have a pair of dressmaker scissors that are this long, that are 14 inches blades, that are sharp as razors. I don't use them on kites, I use them for other things, but Ginger scissors are the bomb. This is point. Incidentally, yesterday somebody mentioned that if you're worried about doing back cutting applique, you can soften this point. I have not done that with this scissors, but you can just take the tiniest tip off of this. So as you're back cutting, it won't dig into the underlying fabric. These are such wonderful scissors that I would never mess with them. I love these scissors, and I don't think I would disrespect them by cutting them. But so do you guys use knife edge scissors where one is rounded? Do I have a pair here?
Yeah, I have some applique dingers here.
Yes, hold it up a little higher.
Yeah, can you see that?
There you go. Oh, nice. Yeah, spoon edge scissors.
Do what?
Nice. Yeah, so you can just change the angle and get closer or farther from your stitch line.
Correct, without worrying about the edge.
Yeah, or catching stitches. Yeah, those are lovely.
So I'm using for applique a Metzenbaum scissor. It's a very long one. Comes from the medical sector. You can buy it on Amazon for maybe 15 euro or for 150 euro. There must be a difference. The good thing is the tips are already rounded, both, and it's very, very flat and a little bit curved. So if you go along the seam you made, you can really nice follow it. You don't have to cut it, just hold it and slide through it. And at the end, if you come into a corner, you can snip the last one and start again. And I really love that one. It's called Metzenbaum scissor.
They're curved upwards. And I want to tell a quick personal story about Metzenbaum scissors. When I was in my surgery rotation, I was with a sort of barking, bully South African resident who took great joy in humiliating people. And when you're doing a bowel resection, you gather up all of this tissue and blood vessels, and you tie it, and then in order to cut so people won't bleed, and then you have to cut the tissue in order to remove it. But you're cutting into living tissue, and if you poked into parts that were underneath the stitches, the patient would bleed to death. So he tells me to do that part of the job. All right, I'm in this training program, and I'm holding a pair of straight scissors in my hand, and I just knew that I didn't know what to do. I was frozen in place, and the nurse handed me a pair of Metzenbaum scissors that curve up and away, and that's what they are for. It's for cutting tissue so that the tip of the scissors is always away from the delicate part, I could have wept with gratitude. That lady, I could have kissed her then and then, except I had a mask on. But Metzenbaum scissors are good. Metzenbaum scissors. I have a pair of scissors that I really love. These are called Karen Bakery or Karen Berkeley Perfect Scissors. These have micro serrations on them that are pointed backward. So they pull the fabric in toward Buckley, Karen Buckley Perfect Scissors. This is the small version. They make a 6-inch version, but they are razor sharp right to the tippity tip. And if you wanted to get into the point of a piece of applique, the fabric or the thread doesn't slide away from the scissor as you cut. It pulls it in toward the scissors, and it's sharp right to the very tip. Karen Buckley Perfect Scissors. I love these. I only use the small ones. My wife uses the big ones, but so that's one of my little tools and tricks. And this is something that somebody sent, a picture that somebody sent me. Do you guys ever do back cutting with a seam ripper? You guys do back cutting with a seam ripper?
Haven't had much luck with it. Tried it. I've done it. Not my preferred technique.
Roy sent me a picture of this. What he's done is he's taken his seam ripper and he's screwed a little glass bead to the pointy part. Can you see it? I don't know if you can. So that if you're doing long straight pieces, especially if it's glued together and you want to lift it up a little bit, you can slide the long piece along the stitch line and not catch stitches and not catch the underlying fabric. So that's a little bit of super glue and a glass bead. So I thought, out of respect for him, I'd put that into the group. So that's that.
So these are my Wiss sewing scissors that I've had. I bought them from Jose Signs at Fort Worden, and he taught us how to modify the tip. And it's just a diamond hone, and you just dress it a little bit. Do not take that in at all. All you're doing is taking the burr off the bottom and slightly rounding them. The other thing is that with the diamond hone, I can go in and just not even put any pressure on, and I just dress it like that, and it kind of hones it. And you can simply, I don't know whether you can see this or not. And you got this. Can you see the orange?
Yep.
And it just, and I've had these forever. And I like these because, like Ralph was saying, you get into a corner and you snip, and that's the key. Rhonda had somebody say, "Oh, well, I'll fix your scissors for you," and she had a brand new pair of scissors, and he screwed it up, and they don't snip into the corner. It's like an overbite or an underbite, and I'm going, "Ah!" Just drove me nuts. But anyway, yeah, I've tried other methods, and this just works so well. I mean, you got to tune them and keep them tuned. But
although I have to say that originally the way those scissors were meant to be used was with the curved side down. So I think that Jose's way of softening the sharp side.
No, not for my seamstress mother.
Well, I mean, that's if it works for you, that's good. I have one other thing before we close down. I think that you guys, how do you guys punch holes?
Laser
punch. Call me crazy with a punch.
You can use. I actually had to mug a train conductor to get this. You can use a hole punch, but I've never been very satisfied with the way hole punches work. This is called a Japanese screw punch. You guys ever seen one of these? It's from the bookbinding industry. Oh yeah,
That's what I was just.
One. Can you let me show you? This is a block of high density polyethylene. When you push down on this, it turns the blade like a Yankee screwdriver. Okay, let's see how he does it. So it turns the blade, and it just cuts. I'm going to see if I can't. How it's done. I can't do it and hold it up at the same time.
Ralph, do it again.
It just cuts. It just cuts perfect.
Thanks, Ralph.
Perfect little round hole.
Perfect.
There it is.
Yeah, that's great, Ralph.
Yeah.
And you have different size punches.
That's right. It comes with different size holes.
Right.
So there it is. This is Dacron, and I don't know if you can see. That's a 1/4 inch hole. Oh yes, there it is.
How's it work on 3/4 ounce ripstop?
It works very well. It doesn't drag the fabric around. I find that it doesn't distort the fabric. I have some ripstop right here. This is 3/4 ounce. Let's see.
Sorry, my wife dropped in. What kind of punch was that?
It's called a Japanese screw punch. And this is what it did to, there you go.
And this is a piece of Dacron. It worked on Dacron too.
Yeah. And this is the 3/4 ounce nylon. So it works on the soft stuff and it works on that harder stuff. And my wife did some bookbinding, and this thing will cut through like bookboard or a 1/4 inch of paper. It really works good. You have to push harder on the harder stuff, obviously. But it sort of rotates anyway, it was just another tool that was just too cool not to show people.
And that's another add to cart for me.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to, another thing I wanted to show was this. Yesterday, we watched this guy laboriously turn fabric inside out, right? This is a tool from the quilting section, and it's called the sleeve turner. Sleeve turner. I don't know if you
farther away.
Okay. And it's a whole series of little tubes. And I've already turned this inside out. I don't know if it'll turn it right side out again. But you flip the tube, you slip this plastic tube, and they make metal ones and stuff, into the fabric tube that you're flipping. You just bunch it up. And then you have your little pusher that you push down into the tube. I'm sorry if I'm not doing a very good demonstration of this. And then it's done.
So we could just use 2 different size rods.
Yeah, Sky Shark 3P and 8 inch.
I was about to say Sky Shark clearance.
Right. Or you cut a knitting needle in half and get a dowel.
Yeah, Sky Shark clearance.
Yeah. And you just need the pusher to be small enough that the bunched up fabric as it passes through doesn't jam you up. But my heart went out to that guy, seeing him sort of struggle with a pair of tweezers.
Yeah, I got a bunch of old Rev giant tomato steak rods that I can use.
Yeah, that's right. So what do they used to call those? The super leading edge.
Correct. I'm going to have to jump off. Thanks everybody for the tooltips. This has been a wonderful session. I'll bet we could do a whole day of tooltips. So thanks, Mitch, for organizing it. And I've got a lot to add to cart, but we'll see you guys later.
See you, Steve.
All right.
You know
Cheers.
what? I'm
Bye.
going to sign out as well. And so by all means, I welcome, this will continue to record till the very last person leaves. And so I might play back the recording to see if I've missed any great tool tips. But I'm going to have to sign out myself at this point. Thank you, one and all, for your contribution.
Does anyone know if the chat is recorded with the recordings?
I believe it is.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, chat is part of the recording, and I've been copying and pasting from it anyway. But yeah, recorded with the thing.
All right. Well, cheers.
Thanks,
you guys.
Mitch. By the way, very much. It was awesome.
Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah,
Lindsay.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Ciao.
Lindsay, do you happen to have a link or a name for that tape dispenser you showed? The magic tape?
That guy, the little guy. We had. Let me see if I got one in a box. Hang on.
Ralph, is it okay that I mute you?
Sorry?
We can hear you cutting.
Ah, okay. Sorry. Sorry, forgot it.
Let me do a search for it. We used to buy these and sell them, but we haven't bought them for a long time. So I don't know if they're still available. But I'll let me do a handheld automatic tape dispenser.
I can find some at least that that look very like it, and I can buy them here in Europe as well for like €8. So that's perfect. Yes.
Did you
great.
find them?
Yeah, that was enough of a keyword. Just handheld automatic tape dispenser. Then I found lots.
Good. Yeah, they're really neat. Yep, there they are. I've got them on Amazon here in the States. So $17.99 here. There's another one for $12.99. I'll put that link in there.
I generally have to find equivalents for everything here in Europe because getting anything from the US is just hopeless. But
well, yeah, and what I do when I ship stuff over to my light sets that I make for the quadline kites, because I can't ship lithium-ion batteries, I always send people in the UK, Germany, or wherever, country specific links to Amazon or eBay for the batteries and stuff and chargers.
Yeah, the problem here is that anything I buy from outside of Europe gets caught in, and then I have to pay VAT and like $20 handling fee.
Oh yeah, you got to pay all your extra VAT
and that's
duties
just especially for small things. That's just hopeless, right? It's so then it's better to just find something equivalent in somewhere in Europe, Amazon, Germany, something. So as long as I can sort of figure out what the product is called, then I can find something equivalent to buy.
Well, yeah.
Perfect.
Plus, when I ship, UK is pretty quick on getting stuff through customs, but in Germany, my God, I mean, sometimes it'll sit in customs for 2-3 weeks, and it's only been, 8-10 days getting across the,
yeah,
there.
And now we have the problem that I can't even buy anything from the UK anymore because of Brexit. So
yeah, because of Brexit. Yeah. So Ralph, do you know anything about your kite yet?
I'm still waiting.
Have you?
I think I will call them tomorrow again. Because
Did he give you any tracking information? I don't have any.
I got one from Phil, a number, and the other kite I got from Phil is also in Cologne since nearly 3 weeks, and it was check in, check out on the tracking list, and I called them, I think a week ago or so, and they said to me, "Wow, we are waiting for a receipt." And I wrote it to Phil, and he said, "Well, he gave it to the UPS service in the United States 3 times." And he sent me this receipt, and I sent it to them here in Germany, to the German email address. And I will see what happens when I call them tomorrow again. Nothing happens till now. I don't know what they are doing there. Now you can see on the tracking list, delay because of Brexit. That's absolutely stupid.
Yeah, but anything from the U.S. is going directly to Germany, not through.
Yeah, they say, "Oh, we have so
UK,
many
right?
deliveries here and too much to do." But I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I buy a lot of stuff for my work, and everything comes just in time. There's no difference than the years before or so. I don't know what they are doing. Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it's stupid that I have to ask what's going on instead of them that they say or send me an email, "We need this or we need that." So that would help a lot. If I have to do something, I can do it, but they need to tell me that.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, when you call them, you have to tell the computer the tracking number. And I did it twice, and both times the answer was, "We don't understand you. Say it again, please." And in the middle of the 3rd time, I got a human voice on the phone.
You know what I do is that I go 0000000, you know, and it either crashes the system or it says, "Oh, one moment, please. We will connect you with the next available agent." You know.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. It's frustrating sometimes, but
yeah.
You know, and now when you get somebody on the phone, you're wondering if they're standing there in their underwear doing ironing, right? You know, and they got their headphones on or they're feeding their little kid.
Whatever.
Because they're working from home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of fun. Well, this has been great last couple days.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Gary Ingval, are you still working, or did you retire?
I didn't really have much to retire from, so I've just been doing kites for a long time.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, because Ralph and Jan's not on it, but we have the grumpy old gits 2 times a week. We have Zoom meetings at 12:30 Pacific time, so that would be what
3:30 our time.
3:30 your time, and yeah, if you feel like you want to get involved with the drunks because they're at night.
I was going to say that's the only problem. No guarantees I'll be sober. That's the only problem.
Yeah, you know, so they're all drinking beer, you know, and we're just having lunch. But yeah,
I'm late for mine. You know, it's beer 30 over here.
Yeah, but it's Tuesdays 3:30 your time, Saturdays 3:30 your time, and sometimes, geez, Ralph,
I freezed again.
sometimes we go 4 hours, 3 hours, and I mean Keith Boxall and Dick Tunin and Ralph and Ron Gibeon gets on, and Mitch Cordover and Scott Hampton.
Cool.
I mean, it's really a lot of fun, and we don't, and it's not always kites. I mean, it degrades as it goes farther on, and it gets into old men problems and farting and all sorts of shit. I mean,
listen, you missed the last one.
I did.
Yeah, you missed the last one.
Did you have one?
Main theme was butt plugs. I don't know why it came up, but butt plugs.
Thanks for sharing, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
Bianca, your
Remember,
hostage
this
gets
is
on.
recorded. Okay, this is still recording.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, still. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Okay, we should
Well,
say
thank
Nick.
you. Right.
She
Thanks
should
for
cut
this
it
has
off.
been great, guys. Seriously.
Hey, and Jan,
And
where
Jan,
where
great
do
meeting you.
live?
Say
Sorry?
what?
Are you in Germany?
I'm
Jan?
in Denmark.
Denmark. Oh, right. Okay. So, cool.
Oh.
So, have you ever met Ralph at Fano?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Because
But,
he never
yeah.
met he hasn't met Dick Toonan, so you got two people.
I probably met him as well, but
yeah.
I'm.
Have you been to Fano, Lindsay?
No, we've never been.
You should come.
It's no problem. Somebody not to meet there.
Oh, I know it. It's thousands of people. Yeah. Well, it's so long too. I mean, I remember David Gomberg, the first time that he went to Fano, and he had his film developed. He thought that he had dust on his lens, and then when he looked at the pictures and took a magnifying glass, it was all kites.
Yeah.
Because it's what, 5 miles long or longer?
Not so long. I think it's from Rindby to
not that long,
Fano, but maybe 3 kilometers, maybe, and to the other side a little bit.
Yeah,
And
but
it changed a little bit over the years.
Oh, okay.
It's the area on the beach where you can go changed over the years. They put some how it's called, this special grass for dunes on it to save the sand there and so on. So you cannot drive with the car everywhere now. So it stretched a little bit, and now it's not so many people like in the late 90s.
Yeah,
in the late 90s where there were much more people than now.
Yeah,
but it's still great.
I've been going since 2005, and I can see even at that time it's declining. But I think it's just the general modern world where people are spending more time on their iPads than flying kites.
Yeah.
The grumpy old men are dying out, and there are not enough new people joining.
Yeah.
True enough.
That's a big problem to get more and more younger people. It was interesting. Scott Hampton asked some questions in the last few days on what was it? Kite Builder group on Facebook.
Yeah.
And one of the question was, what was the age when you start with kite making?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, he said the average age was 32 or something. So
yeah,
early
it was
30s.
20s, early 30s.
Yeah. That's I think that's very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. So if you don't get your teenager children or people in the 20s, you cannot get them in. It's okay. They will come later, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is people. Well, like Blake Pelton, he's been in kiting a long time, but you get people that are kiteboarders and stuff, or once they have children, things start changing.
Mm-hmm.
And once their children are of the age where you can interact with them and you don't feel like you're gonna break them, then that's when you introduce them, and that's usually late 20s, early 30s when they've got one or two kids and they want something that's healthy for their kids, and that's who we should be targeting, is that age group, So not the little kids. I mean, that doesn't sound right from us making kite kits for
We got it.
No, but I think it's important to expose kids to kites when they are that age, because then they will remember it 20 years later.
Yes, but thinking that introducing that child at the grade school in kite making is going to influence their parents into getting into kiting is not going to happen.
That doesn't work well for us.
Is not happening. No.
No, it's the long game.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
It's a long game, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
How did we manage to have a 2-hour long talk about tools and nobody mentioned sewing machines?
And we could keep going.
Oh, I know it. And I was going to bring up, just a simple edge binder. I mean, how many people, and these things used to be horribly expensive, and now, they're $15. for a double fold edge band.
For an auto fold.
I gotta say, this was one of my favorite workshops this weekend. I had to jump out and Dad called, but I let him know that my birthday is coming up April 2nd.
Oh, very good. All right, take note, Gary.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Gary. I have cut and pasted all the links from the chat and sent them to Dad.
Good
Oh,
job.
something to your dad. Oh, good.
Good job. Yep.
I have 15 tabs more open in my browser now, so
yeah,
it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
I know. Well, fortunately, I have most of the tools, you know.
And I just bought a new sewing machine a couple of hours ago. So.
Oh, what'd you buy?
Well, I just months ago I put in like a search reminder on the Danish equivalent of Craigslist, I guess. For a FAF 1222E. And because everybody says that that's the machine to buy if you want to go old school, and then one just popped up today, and
good.
I was standing in the kitchen, and then it popped up on my mobile phone, and I said, well, why not? I'll give him a call. And so I'm picking it up.
Great machine.
Picking it up tomorrow.
It's got some idiosyncrasies. It's a one-person machine. If we had one for the club that was a loaner for workshops. And, if you weren't really familiar with the machine, it was really hard to work with. But it's, once you get through the fact that it's a little different than the rest of the world, man, it's a workhorse.
I hope it's going to adopt me then.
You're going to be happy with that.
Cool. Yeah. So how much did you pay for it? Or are you paying for it?
Oh, what is that? Just over $100, I think.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you
Outstanding.
can have a little discomfort.
You done good.
Yeah.
Now,
I didn't think long about it. So,
so Gary,
always use.
Is that vintage of FAF? Is that or is that all metal gears?
It's mostly metal gears, and it's just getting into the circuit boards. So the circuit boards, if they go, they can be expensive to replace. But
or
it's a beautiful machine.
Yeah. Yeah, we have FAF, the light industrial zigzag. Got it from it was Deb Cooley's, and Stan Swanson says you can sew seat belts with it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's a nice little machine, and it had the clutch motor on it, and I replaced it with a servo motor, and yeah. $120 for a servo motor. So if you ever get industrial machines,
my industrial servo.
Yeah, and man, what a difference that makes. But at Christmas, I got to use a Juki with a computer on it, and so I mean it like does 1, 2, 3, 4 stop, needle down, you turn it 1, 2, 3, 4 stop, needle down. It was just like.
Yep.
Yeah, cool stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to do some lunch.
We should try to play well with others. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy.
All right,
Thanks, everybody. This has been
awesome.
I'm 3 hours past dinner now, so maybe I should get some dinner.
Exactly. You guys, I feel bad for
nice
you. You're
meeting
way
you,
past
Paul.
your nap time, right?
Yeah.
See you guys. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Next time.
Bye, guys. See you at the next one.
See you.
See you, Paul.
Bye, Lindsay.